Now, we are debating today the Honorable Prime Minister's or Honorable President's statement yesterday, but I would rather not go into his statement, but talk about what has happened at the Geneva Human Rights Council yesterday. We have got a humiliating defeat for our efforts in trying to prevent the resolution being adopted against Sri Lanka. Now, we have dropped down from 11 votes to 7 votes, and the abstentions have gone down from 24 to 20. But yet, we find that this is a very, very humiliating defeat. However, the Honorable Foreign Minister apparently had thought that he had been deluded into thinking that since some of the OIC ambassadors have called on him, he would have felt that they may be favoring Sri Lanka's position. But unfortunately, there had been no positive response from the OIC countries. So now we find that China has managed to defeat the resolution against them. That, of course, China being a very powerful nation, had appeared to somehow defeat the nation. But then trying to piggyback on China on these issues is not going to bring us any dividends. We should understand that certain issues we should have come to certain compromises. Now, for instance, the economic crimes, it was not an intrusive part of the resolution. There was, in fact, that was tagged along with, it was linked to the abuse of state authority and impunity when it came to that. So we could have very, very clearly agreed with that portion of the resolution and come to certain compromises. So I think we had to blame our team in Geneva, and particularly the Foreign Minister made it a point to go a second time. Initially, when he went and addressed the Council, he went for the second time in an unprecedented manner, and we had received this humiliating defeat. So that being the case, I must also say that we are heaping upon us unnecessary strictures by our own conduct. Now, you see, now we are trying to establish this Bureau of Rehabilitation. A new bill has been brought before the House, and that bill has now been challenged before the Supreme Court. Pending that, let me say, previously we tried to attempt to introduce a rehabilitation program through the Prevention of Terrorism De-Radicalization regulations, which dealt with regulations to prevent violent extremist religious ideology. And this was also challenged in the Supreme Court, and the leave to proceed was granted, and issuing an interim order also was issued until the final determination. Pending that, they dropped the idea, and then they all come up with this new bill to legalize what they are seeking to do. And we also saw that the President had to reverse the Security Zones Gazette that had finally been discovered that they have brought it under Official Secrets Act, totally unconnected to the purposes of declaring such a security zone. Finally, they realized that they are trying to shift the blame. They say the Public Security Ministry, certain officials, the Defense Secretary and others got together. The Minister was also accused of having a hand in that without any advice for the Attorney General. So all these things have happened. I believe even this bill seeking to establish Bureau of Rehabilitation is a very dangerous thing, because there is, now we must understand that this bill is talking of drug-dependent persons, ex-combatants, members of violent extremist groups, and any other group of persons who require treatments and rehabilitation. All these categories are ill-defined, and the usage of such vague, arbitrary classification is going to result in innocent people being incarcerated for a long time without recourse to even a judicial supervision. And this is a totally, this violates the fundamental rights of these people who may have been involved in protests against government. And then this seems to be the the purpose behind trying to establish such a Bureau of Rehabilitation. Now look at Section 17 of the bill. Now militarization of the process is done through Section 17 of the bill, where the President can designate members of the armed forces to be in charge of these rehabilitation centers. Then Section 28(2), to preserve order and discipline, they may use all means, including minimum force, to compel obedience to any lawful directions given by these people. Then Section 27.
Member, you have 2 minutes.
Then obstruction or attempted obstruction becomes a punishable offense. Now, we are going to lump together drug offenders. We are going to put in people with ex-combatants. Now, after 2009, end of the war, what happened was scores of people who surrendered, they separated supposedly some LTT combatants, even people who have been forcibly recruited to the LTT, some people who have been child soldiers, and even civilian people who assisted LTT in various civilian activities, who have not been, they were actual non-combatants. They were also lumped together with the entire lot. Almost 12,000 people were herded into rehabilitation centers. At that time, because of the type of victory euphoria that persisted in the country, nobody would dare challenge the condemnation that they were subjected to in these rehabilitation centers. People were not having access to their relatives, their dear and near ones. There was absolutely no judicial supervision. Then Defense Secretary, the former president, was virtually in charge of the decision-making process in trying to incarcerate these people. So similar attempt is made once again to create such a Bureau of Rehabilitation, which has already been challenged. I hope the Supreme Court will find that this bill is inconsistent with all accepted norms of decent scrutiny. And therefore, we need to take, let us not delude ourselves into believing that everyone who is opposed to you is protesting is a potential terrorist. This is the amount to which the government has come into deluding themselves into thinking. If at all somebody protests against you, they think that you are a terrorist. This type of carte blanche attitude towards people who engage in protests must be discouraged, Mr. Presiding Member. So therefore, I would like to specifically refer to this legislation that has been brought about. And this has created so much of, now these regulations also violate the right to fair trial because they allow a person to be deemed guilty and sent to rehabilitation for up to 2 years without trial. Absolutely, it's just upon a suspicion by administrative authorities, without any recourse to a court of law. So this is.
Member, your times are.
Yeah. So therefore, this will ultimately end up in creating further polarization among the communities and unnecessary distress among the people, and would lead to creating further problems in the society. Therefore, this has to be rethought and revised, in my opinion. Those are my comments, Mr.
Thank
President.
you.
Thank you.